So everyone here knows about the amazing Digital Circus, right? A girl loses her memory and spawns into a virtual circus run by an AI overlord, desperately tries to find a way out, but keeps on getting forced to play wacky games with a few other trapped humans. A very relevant and captivating premise, but I must say, what stole the show for me was that impossibly slick CGI animation. So imagine my surprise when the series creator Gooseworks mentioned this show as a major inspiration. This is Papi the Performer, an absurdist comedy CGI anime series from the Jurassic period with a quirky production to say the very least. You see, creator Ryuji Masuda and his wife Wakako really wanted to make a fully CG anime series, but struggled to get any sort of real funding as it was fairly uncharted territory for the industry. After months of searching, they eventually managed to procure a shoestring budget of what translates to about $900 a month from a network called Kids Station. The couple decided to set the series in a desolate desert, hire no voice actors, and use a fairly limited and repetitive soundtrack in order to devote what little funding they did have largely into the animation itself. It was a bumpy ride with a 3-man production team, but come January 3rd, 2000, the first episode of Papi aired for the whole world to see. Woo! The experimental anime power couple finally realized their dream. It was an amazing moment. Except for one thing. I mentioned that this series was funded by Kids Station, right? Well, Masuda went with a bit of a Papi maniacally cutting his friend in half direction with episode 1, which is not very ideal for an audience of kids. The young director claimed he legitimately had not realized that it would be aired specifically for children, but after this realization, the mature subject matter throughout the show was never really toned down. In fact, it may have gotten even worse. So why was this the case? You would think Masuda would be pressured to make the show more palatable for a younger audience upon realizing his mistake, right? Well, as it turns out, Papi had already gained a cold following precisely for its unhinged qualities. A great parallel for what's going on here is the amazing Digital Circus. The first episode has 400 million views. That's more people than live in America, almost twice as many people as live in Brazil, and almost 1/2 of the people who have viewed the AI-generated Meow Wow channel on YouTube Shorts. Seriously, we are so f***ed. Like, I like to act like we aren't, but we, as a species, are f***ed. But yeah, an absurd popularity, specifically with a young audience. While it has more narrative polish than Papi, and make no mistake, is breathtakingly animated, I believe its nature as something seemingly kid-friendly, but ultimately more sinister beneath the surface, played a huge part of propelling it into superstardom. Kids love creepy media, especially when it catches them off guard. It becomes a core memory, it makes them feel more grown-up for engaging with it, and it helps them explore morbid curiosity from what ultimately is a fairly safe distance. Think Five Nights at Freddy's, Poppy's Playtime, Choo Choo Charles, Garten of Ban Ban, Bendy, the list goes on. Kids are obsessed with these series, and most of them kinda suck, so it isn't their quality doing the heavy lifting. This trend is oftentimes referred to as mascot horror, also in part for these franchises' ability to crank out marketable plushies. It's a fact though, this kind of story blows up with the youth. You reel them in with cute designs like Pomni and Jax, and then you hit them with something like this. Much like Digital Circus though, it's not only kids who liked Papi. I'm arguably above the maturity of your average 12-year-old, and I found this series to be a blast, and I think a lot of that comes down to its atmospheric storytelling and what it has to say about the creative process. Much like its production staff, Papi the Performer is a 3-man act. We got Papi, his dad I think, and his canine assistant. They exist within a circus in the middle of nowhere and perform in front of an inanimate crowd. Papi is a sociopathic and vengeful child who simply must be the best performer because he feasts on attention. So he tends to do a hell of a lot of instigating.
Excuse me, jackass.
Pardon me?
I said, excuse me, jackass, you're in the way, buddy.
Call me jackass?
I didn't mean
What
to
kind
do
of customer?
I didn't mean it in a respectful way, jackass.
Just excuse me,
Can
I'm
I tell
not
you?
a jackass.
First off, listen, I was telling you 3 times. I said,
I didn't hear you either time, but I'm not a jackass.
that's how you're acting, buddy.
You apologize, and I will apologize.
How about we do it together?
Okay.
I'm a man, you're a man, right?
I'm a man, okay?
Okay, my name's Jeffrey.
My name's Tim.
Nice to meet you,
Nice to
jackass.
meet you.
His father is the eccentric and powerful ringleader who, from time to time, harnesses the power of the sun. And Kedamono here is simply a cute little fella for the most part, though he will stoop to any level of moral depravity if treats are on the table. Together, they do random tricks for an audience of nobody. Papi gets insecure or antsy, sees red, and then, may God have mercy on that poor dog's soul. Though, occasionally he will get his lick back. That's the basic setup. The ties to Digital Circus seem obvious, as an absurdist comedy with horror elements starring a clown character inhabiting a vapid and uncanny landscape of people who aren't real. However, elephant in the room? This show kinda looks like a butt. It's okay, Papi, I get told my smile is creepy too. But beyond just... the style is uncanny, crude, somewhat stilted, and once again contains essentially no dialogue. However, this is a rare case of a show successfully using janky production to its advantage. So many comedy cartoons have gone far out of their way to look rancid over the years, hood classics like Fanboy and Chum Chum and Problem Solvers, but it kind of serves no purpose most of the time. Like, it can contribute to an irreverent and uncanny tone, but oftentimes that's outweighed for me by the sheer discomfort of what I see on screen. This series, however, intentionally uses its uncanny and uncomfortable style to be creepy and sell the absurdity, to show the exaggerated demonic expressions of Papi, and to highlight the utter soullessness which lies behind those eyes. The character of Kedamono even wears a mask with cute little faces sharpied on, as not to contradict his innocent and chill persona with an inherently creepy early CGI face. Also, make no mistake, when it comes to the setting, this show is supposed to feel empty. Maybe even somewhat lifeless. It's interesting because they exist in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by bizarre magical forces and endless circus equipment. So where the hell are they? Well, Mascot says that Papi is an alien who landed on post-apocalyptic Earth and is trying to make sense of leftover human objects. And, it's his show. But I like to observe this series as a peek into the imagination of a young child still figuring the world out. I believe that what we see each episode is Papi's immature, intrusive thoughts. He doesn't know much other than performing, and he doesn't seem to have many friends, so when he feels outshined, he lashes out uncontrollably. The brand of mysticism in this world oozes childlike naivete to me as well, in the sense that aliens, ghosts, gods, and magic are all real. His dad is a bizarrely powerful magician with incredible abilities, his dog is his assistant, and the inanimate crowd very directly acts as imaginary friends. This feels like the inside of Papi's mind, all wrapped up in the id, ego, and superego. But a somewhat douchey and ill-explained psychological reference like that doesn't really get to the heart of it. It really all loops back around to this series being made for kids. Because at the end of the day, it kind of is. A loosely translated quote from a Vice Japan interview with Masuda states that, "Children's minds are repressed. They are told, don't fall down, or don't cry because you're a boy. Their emotions are not free. When children are drawing crazy pictures, their parents stop them and tell them to draw cheerful pictures. But people will always have feelings like anger or hatred. It is for adults to think about how to express those feelings. Stabbing or beating people up may be one expression, sure, but it's a safer expression to draw. Adults should teach children safe ways to express themselves, not suppress their emotions." Children have morbid emotions. We see it in their fascination with Mascot horror. They have intrusive thoughts and in some cases even existential frustrations. I believe Papi is merely expressing himself and using his imagination to take every situation to its most exciting extreme. I like to imagine that Anime King Vaughn over here probably had trouble making friends and is merely sitting alone playing make-believe with his dog, and after he returns, his father, who he has learned the art of performance from. Papi wants to grow. He wants to be like his father and even has some complex emotions of resentment towards him, despite just being a kid. A kid exploring emotions and possibilities through art and performance. It is an encouragement not to be afraid of your own mind and to keep your sense of imagination strong. Kids actually liked Papi and now love Digital Circus because it respects them enough to offer up the full range of human emotion we are all capable of. These works are pure testaments to artistic expression, and I just know Masuda had a blast letting his imagination run wild with this production. Papi is a great anime which I absolutely recommend. It is an ode to the endless possibilities of a child's wacky mind. Kinda makes me wonder though if it being on Kid Station maybe was a bit intentional. I mean, how do you mess that up? Kids is in the f***ing channel. Where am I?
You're in hell.
Fuck! Alright, can I at least like do like a magic trick to impress you? I got this hat right here, maybe then I can go to heaven?
Yes.
Alright bro, chill. I'm gonna try to pull a bunny out of this hat right here. Alright, ready for this?
Okay, man. Like, I was kind of expecting something a little bit more than that. I thought you were gonna pull a bomb or something, but I guess not. So, it's whatever. I mean,
I'm not trying to like blow you up.
Yeah, no, I know. I understand that. It's just,
No one will be exploding in this clip. Thank you so much to my lovely patrons, Funky Boy Haas, Ev, Carson,